do think they'll sign Rice, but they ain't signing Fernandez, mate. And then let me say this here: Fernandez ain't going for 100 mil either.
You
Yeah,
don't think?
yes, that's his buyout and all of that. He ain't going for 100 mil. No way. He'll go for about 70 plus add-ons or something. So, in terms of the whole package, if he hits the trajectory and the club do, then it might be 100. He's going for about 70, Terry. Yeah, that buyout clause thing, it's like same in Spain. Like there's certain players in Spain with 500 million buyout. You ain't buying them for that. Like that's just to protect the value and to protect the club.
Yeah, listen, I think Liverpool have definitely got a chance. There was big reports, of course, during the World Cup from Argentina that they'd already had like an agreement in principle to get that deal done. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at Liverpool. Another name, Declan Rice just won't go away, no matter who the manager is, who the owners are. Declan Rice to Chelsea. I swear it's been 3 years running now where it's been a potent, big deal. But another name that I was told about today was Caicedo to Chelsea, that he could be another option for them. They were looking at 40, 45 mil. Brighton have been very public. They've briefed the media directly on this. They've said, listen, we're taking no less than £70 million for him because we know how much everybody wants him. But he's another one who, again, is a cheaper option on paper than a Declan Rice, cheaper paper on option on paper than Enzo. But again, I do think Chelsea are going to sign two of those three, or one of those three, and somebody like they're going to sign two big money midfielders. And when I say big money, 60, 65 million pound plus on each. They're going to go out and spend. And I think they've got a chance at Enzo and Rice, but they could end up with Caicedo and Rice. They could end up with Caicedo and Enzo. Jude Bellingham is another player they're looking at. Todd Bowley, legitimately in his group, pound for pound, they're outspending what Roman was doing. And the worrying factor with them, I've said it since the day Roman, I've said this to you on streams, mate. They're trying to build something that's sustainable as well. They're looking at a lot of young prospects, whether their names are famous yet or not. They want to build something over a period of time. They've told Graham Potter, we believe you're the manager with the right resources over a 2 to 3 year period that can build long-term sustainable success. And though we're not going to do it on a shoestring budget like some clubs, we're actually going to do it and spend massive and keep you the best players. And I always kind of look at it like a little bit like RB Leipzig, which is why I think Chelsea have gone for a lot of people connected to that setup. Imagine Leipzig with Premier League money. Look at all the stars they've had to let go. And forget how good or bad they are because they're in the Bundesliga. Imagine how much more competitive Leipzig would be in Germany if all their star players of the last 5 years were still there now on big money wages and they were able to go into the transfer market and buy the superstars that also play their style of football. They'd be challenging.
Dortmund, look at the conveyor belt that Dortmund
they have to let them go. And that's my point. If you can build a structure in England that is similar to Dortmund's or Leipzig's in terms of talent ID and style of football and spotting those youngsters, but you're also able to add on top of that by keeping and buying established players that also can play in that way, you can become a dangerous animal. The thing about Dortmund, I remember once getting into an argument, I think it was with Tom from Guna Talk TV. We still never had a debate, and I just said that there isn't a debate because we're not going to even see common ground. Where I said I would never want Man United to mimic Dortmund's model. And he said, well, why would you not? Dortmund are a better team than you right now. And I said, yes, but Dortmund have a ceiling. Dortmund can only get certain level of good because they let their best players leave and they never replace like for like. They go back into the market and buy up and coming players and rebuild again. And I wouldn't want my club to have that model because I want to build a brilliant team that you can then keep brilliant for a decade by adding to it. Maybe you lose one or two, but you barely lose anybody. And that for me is what
you used to under Fergie.
Like we used to, like City do now, as an example. The reason why Liverpool won't win as regularly as City is because they don't add on top as frequently. They let players go. They bring youngsters through again. Different model. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But I think Chelsea are trying to build something which is Leipzig, Dortmund-esque, but with big money. And that's a scary prospect. And when you look at how much they've already spent 300 million. And by the end of this window, so far this season, they could have spent 400 to 450 million pounds on new players. It's crazy. Considering everybody said Roman era is done, Chelsea are finished. For me, like, people have got to keep a much closer eye on Chelsea and not just look at them sitting in 8th or 9th and go, ha, you've fallen off, because They're not going to be there forever, in my opinion. They're really not going to be there forever.
No, they're not. And listen, they've got a manager that's got the mindset of playing good attacking football, right? So now, if you add the money to that and put the right players in there, look at the way Brighton were playing when he was there, mate. I remember going to Ostersund, Terry, freezing my knackers off, -15, yeah, and they were playing good attacking football. They then came to the Emirates. We beat them, I think, 3-0 that day, right? But then they came to the Emirates and played us off the park. That was Ostersund, who, by the way, I think have been relegated since he's left, right? And he took them from the 4th tier to the top tier, Europa League and all that. Like, he's a good manager. He plays good, very good football. And if you add money to that and the right players in that money, they're not just throwing money for the sake of throwing money, but you actually get quality players in there. Yeah, I think they could be very scary, Terry.
Very scary. No, listen, man, I agree completely. And it's one of them things that I kind of enjoy seeing them not being good right now. It's a bit of banter, but I've bantered them sort of through bated breath because I kind of know what's. You ever like seen a scenario? Now, I never did this because I was never an idiot as a kid. But you ever seen it where a certain little mouthy kid's giving it the big one because he's got. It was a kid in my. I'll give you an example. A kid in my year, and I can't quite remember his name. His name was David. I don't remember his surname. And his brother was like 3 years older than us, and he always hung around. He didn't hang around with anyone our age. He used to pick on bigger kids in the year above us, 2 years above us, because he was always with his brother's friends that were like the biggest and oldest in the school. And then I remember what happened. His brother and all his friends left the school because they were year 11. They left. He was then in year 9. And he had the year 10s and year 11s and year 9s all hated him because he used to get his brothers and his big mates to beat them all up. Now he had to spend 2 more years at school with the older kids and 3 more, including us, without any protection. He got beat the shit out of a lot.
Every week.
He took a pasting. He took a pasting because it was never deep enough for his by then adult brother to come back into school and attack kids, right? It was never that deep. It was just playground stuff. But that's how I see attacking Chelsea. Right now, it's like, we can all have a dig and laugh at them. But I feel like they're going to come up the blind side really quickly. And suddenly we're gonna, and I don't want to be the guy with those tweets of, oh, look how you've fallen off after Roman. And then in 2 years' time, they pull off a treble or something. Do you get? I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that dude. So I'm just keeping my powder dry.
Yeah, mate, we both said this on here, yeah, when the takeover happened, and I was like, no, they could be a problem because everyone was laughing at them, saying they're finished, they've had their 2 decades, this and that. Mate, you do not buy a football club for that much money, with that much income, with that much fan base globally, yeah, with that much trophy haul in the last 2 decades. And let's not forget, in the last 2 decades, they're still the most successful football club in England, and they ain't won the league for 6 years. Like, so come on, like they're still winning stuff. They're still getting to finals. They won a Champions League less than 2 years ago, 18 months ago.
They did, and do you know what's crazy about it? I mean, there was a report. The record in Portugal, the outlet, have just stated that Enzo Fernandez is inclined to leave Benfica in January, and has accepted the personal terms offered by Chelsea. And this is the thing, and sometimes you get a lot of that's the Portuguese press. Yeah, it's the Portuguese press that first reported that Liverpool were coming in for Darwin Núñez. You know, it was the Dutch press that broke the news about Liverpool and Gakpo before anybody else. So let's not write these publications off. But if this is true and Enzo's accepted those, again, adding Enzo to this, the midfield's a big issue for Chelsea. Even this season, if by the end of January Chelsea have a quality midfield, I'm going to change my top 4 predictions. They're making top 4.
Terry, it's only fake news if you don't believe it. I'll give an example, right? When Ben White left the England camp, everyone was saying, oh my God, personal reasons, right? And I'm sitting there going, well, no, it ain't. Yeah, not personal reasons. It's very easy. It's very similar to when you say, like, if you say personal reasons, yeah, you can't come into work, right? You can't challenge that, can you? The same as when you say about my mental health. You can't challenge mental health because now, what if they are suffering? Same with personal reasons. Personal reasons is very open and subjective to anything. Personal reasons could be he's got an ingrown toenail. Like, it could be anything. So then it comes out a couple of weeks later that apparently Ben White's had a bust up with the staff on the training ground in front of everyone. So I do with it. No, you're a disgrace. How can no? The truth will come out. Terry, we've been in this game long enough, right? And we've been around the block long enough, right, to know that the first story that comes out is never the truth. It's the second one that comes out. It is the truth. The second story with Ben White was he had a bust up because he was bored of doing this, and this, and he didn't want to be there. That's the truth. There will not be a third story. And when people sit there and said to me, "Oh yeah, but you're believing the Daily Star, the Daily Mail." Well, they're the same people that actually said Mudryk was coming to Arsenal before anyone. Yeah, so when it's Mudryk to Arsenal and the Daily Mail and Daily Star put it out there, that's cool, it's happening. But when it's Ben White, yeah, and he's a problem in the England dress, no, it's fake news. If you believe something to be true, you're going to believe it no matter who writes it. But then if you don't believe something, it doesn't matter who writes it. Fabrizio could have tweeted that out about Ben White. Yeah, and oh no, it's fake news because you like the player, you don't want it to be true.
Well,
Yeah, and
it's
it's the same with
yeah.
signings.
Well, it's the same with listen, the Football Terrace gets it a lot. So whenever I put out Arsenal news, Chelsea news, Liverpool news, for instance, it's positive about those clubs. I get very few comments where people say fake news or clickbait. Very few. When I put news out from the same journalists and publications that's positive about Man United, I would say on average we get between 50 to 80 clickbait or fake news comments every single time. And it's weird. It's kind of like, and the strangest one we get on the terrace is people that go, "Well, the other day you said something different." I'm like, "Well, I never say anything about any deals other than my opinion on the story that's being published." So if one day Fabrizio says Man United are advancing talks with João Felix, and I say Man United advanced João Felix deal, I talk about what Fabrizio said. The next day, David Ornstein says United rejected by Felix, and I do a title that says Felix rejects Man United. When I see the comments of the other day, though, Terry, you said it was advancing. It's like, no, I didn't. Fabrizio did, and that's what the title said. Like, that's the strangest bit. But it feeds into the same thing that you've said there. The same thing that you've said. When people want to believe it, they don't challenge. Listen, I've said it before. I'm not someone who reads the Sun, but when the Sun published something negative about Man United, I see hundreds of die-hard Liverpool fans. They don't share the Sun story, but they banter about the story. And it's like, but you're doing the same thing. You're literally believing it because it suits your purpose. And I'm like, shame on you, considering what the way the majority of your city or the whole of your city feels about them. But it's like in that moment, you suddenly don't care anymore. Your morality flies out the window. It's crazy. And I've fallen out with a few Liverpool fans over it. And I'm like, well, one guy went, "No, I'm actually quoting the Mirror." And he sent me the link. I'm like, bruv, the first line in the Mirror says, "According to the Sun." And I'm like, come on now, you can't do that. You have to go read the stories. But yeah,
The best one, you do this because you search all this news every day. The best one is according to reports, right? According to reports, but they never have the solid link, the link that you can click on to go to the report. Yeah, that's when you know it's fake. Yeah, according to reports that we've not linked, that's when you know they've made it up. Yeah, like we both do transfer news, Terry, right? We go through thousands of reports every month or every couple of months during transfer period. Yeah, you do more because you cover 6 teams, I cover 1, right? But according to reports, and there's no report that they've linked, that's fake news every time. Terry, I made a story up once upon a time, yeah, right, on my transfer. It was Donny van der Beek to Arsenal. I literally made that story up. I was sat there, I'd rinsed every single transfer story I could ever have done, yeah, right, in that period, right? And I sat there and I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to do Donny van der Beek to Arsenal. I swear to God, I went to bed, that was in there for 7 a.m. I woke up at 10 a.m. By midday, every mainstream article went with Donny van der Beek to Arsenal. That's how easy it is to manipulate stuff. Yeah?
yeah.
They took my word for it. How do I know what's going on? Like, come on.